Good afternoon, Kayla, Amanda. We are going to take a little time this afternoon during this training to go over some college student development theories. I know you were taught a number of counseling theories when you were getting your counseling degrees, but maybe not student development theories. I wasn't, so I don't assume that anybody else might have been, and they're very helpful to us as counselors. There's a number of good theories that relate to student development. We are going to take one each week as we do this training. But as you learn more of the different theories, they will help you to recognize some of the stages or vectors or whatever they might happen to be called that the students are in that come in to see you and how you will be able to help them through this stage. Okay? Mm-hmm. I know you all know this, just as a reminder, theories are a way to understand and to explain what students are going through, but it's not necessarily a step-by-step process, a very clean and clear moving out of one step into the next step. Okay, it's just to give us an understanding of where they might be. So we don't want to pigeonhole, we don't want to label the students, because human behavior is definitely on a continuum, okay? In today's training, we will only have time to go over Chickering's theory of identity development. There are several vectors or stages, and we want to be able to recognize them. And I've made handouts for you all to keep in your office so that you have them for handy reference in case you have any questions. And you can jot notes about maybe ways to help them progress through these vectors. Chickering's theory is probably the most widely recognized theory, and we will more than likely have students come in from each one of these stages. I call them stages, he calls them vectors. We're talking about the same thing. His first vector is called developing competence. And this is where students develop a sense of competence that comes from the confidence that they can cope with whatever comes along, and that they can also achieve their goals successfully. So can you maybe think of what a student might come in with in this stage?
Would it be someone who's trying to learn time management or try to learn new study skills, like I would imagine a freshman?
I think that would be exactly what we'd be looking at. A new student, now it might be somebody who's been out of college for a number of years, and they are having to relearn confidence and competence in a certain area. So this is his very first vector. The next vector in Chickering's theory is managing emotions. This very well could be the area that most of the students that we see come in having issues in this stage. And this is where your counseling skills are going to be integrated so well with this time. Students are learning to recognize and accept their emotions, but they are also having to learn healthy ways to express them and to control them. So what might be a scenario that we would see for a student in this vector?
So would this be like maybe a freshman student that's living with a roommate for the first time, and they may not get along, and so they're wanting to just immediately drop out because they can't handle all these emotions and the parents aren't wanting them to, that kind of thing? Or?
Yes, roommate situations are going to cause conflict, and students are going to have to learn how to manage those emotions. So that is probably a very common scenario that we might run into.
Okay.
And helping them learn to express their emotions in a healthy way. The third vector that we're going to look at is called moving through autonomy toward interdependence. And I think of this as a pretty broad category. Students in this vector are developing increased emotional independence while at the same time recognizing their interconnectedness with others. So does that make sense? Think about a student who's learning to be on his own and he wants to be seen as an adult. His relationships with parents and family are going to be changing, redefined, as he moves from this child to adult stage. And sometimes this is an uncomfortable process for students as they learn how to voice their own opinions, yet still keep the relationships with family in a positive light. You know, you don't want to alienate your family when you're learning to be an adult. So this is helping them to develop their independence but maintain those strong family positive relationships. The fourth vector is developing mature interpersonal relationships. Now this includes the development of intercultural and interpersonal tolerance and appreciation of differences, as well as the capacity for healthy and lasting relationships with partners and close friends. We will have students, regardless of their age, that are more mature than others, and they understand how to develop and keep lasting relationships. So for students that are having trouble forming these relationships and how do they maintain them, we do want to encourage them to appreciate other people for who they are and to look for the commonalities. Sometimes students will have a tendency to focus on what's different rather than what they have in common. So this is a step toward developing that maturity in those relationships. The fifth vector is establishing identity. And I think this might be another area where we have a number of students come in who might be struggling with figuring out their maybe their sexual identity, or maybe it could be they come from a very non-multicultural background and now they're going to be in a very multicultural institution. So how do they fit in? Who are they? What are their values? Those are the things that go along with establishing identity. And students may need to come in for some regular counseling, for more than one visit, to kind of help see them through this, the emotions that go along with this vector. The sixth vector is developing purpose. And this consists of students that are developing clear vocational goals and making meaningful commitments to personal interests. Also, when they're learning to make decisions and stay with those decisions that they've made, even if there's some opposition, which there could be. But basically, this vector involves helping students find a life direction. So when they come in for career guidance, we have assessments and inventories that we can have them take, but it's not going to pinpoint one specific career for them. So again, you'll integrate this vector with your counseling skills to help them begin that process of finding out what their direction is, and then how they can make those commitments for themselves and for that direction. Our last vector, ladies, is developing integrity. And this is when students move from a very rigid type of thinking to a more humanized value system, where their interests are balanced with those of others. Also, the beliefs of others are acknowledged and respected. So we may not have students come in saying, I'm having an issue with this, because when they are in this stage, they will have a maturity about them. But we will hear it in their conversations and the way that they present themselves and the way that they speak of the respect that they have for others. So we've covered 7 different vectors. I know it's a lot of information. Did you all have any questions? Okay, at least not right now, right? Okay. Well, you have your handouts, and as I said, each week we're going to address a different one so that we can fully utilize our counseling skills to the best of our ability, but also recognize that these are stages or vectors or steps that students are going to be going through. Our role as counselors is to help students think of options, not to tell them what they're doing wrong or to tell them what the best thing is, but to help them come up with those best choices that are healthy choices for themselves. Okay? So next time when we meet, we're going to go over Kohlberg's theory of moral development, which I'm sure you heard about in your counseling classes. So that's all that we're going to cover for today. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.